Okay, so we are, I guess you know I've been asking about video editors, and you also know I'm on a radio show. I just did a kind of an impromptu commercial just this past Saturday, and kind of the reason for this is, well, if you're going to learn how to do something, for me it's easier to try and experiment. I am a terrible book learner, so I do apologize to all the teachers I've had over the years. Now, because of this and just the stuff that I am doing with church, I'm working with Chris Sukidono. He's kind of the co-leader of the media team that I'm on. We've been doing a lot of work with OBS, which is Open Broadcaster Software, and we've been working on getting the church live streaming every Sunday. We've got a lot of people, they can't make it to service, even with we went to two services, but even with one service, they couldn't quite make it. And that's just life. Life gets in the way of things. We got people that are, off island for whatever reason. Maybe they're visiting family. Maybe it's something medical. Certainly had our share of that, unfortunately. We've got people who are just living somewhere else, and they still want to see what's going on at church. So we've been doing that. And it's actually been a lot of fun actually trying to figure this stuff out with Chris. Up until this point, I think that he's done a lot of the work. He's done a lot of the heavy lifting, as it were. He's a very modest guy. He's always downplaying what he does, and he's done quite a lot. So I'm very happy that he is doing these things. So, but, I need to get moving, I need to get learning and doing more things, so I'm starting to actually experiment with these. And like I said, we are actually using what's called OBS Studio. This is open source software. This is a very good option when your budget is low, but you've got the time to try and figure things out. A lot of the other programs you can use right now, such as Telestream, such as Game Show, there's a couple others. They'll actually import whatever it is that you make with this. So you can get everything set up, and they'll try and take that, and you don't have to duplicate your work. It's been pretty nice. YouTube supports it, which is nice. I've actually been working a little bit with this. So if you were to say, let's go to Sam's YouTube channel here, for instance, and I've actually been trying this out with some of the random things I've been doing, usually gaming, just because it is a real test of these things. You're really having to fuss with your settings. You're really having to work with your bandwidth, and I kind of think that makes it a decent test I can do at home for figuring things out. So for instance, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, and as a fighting game fan, well, okay, I ended up getting that, so it's been a good test. Like, okay, what resolutions can I get away with? In this case, I'm actually experimenting with 60 frames per second, and the reason for that is I feel it actually looks much better than something going at 30 frames per second. There's this idea that, 24 frames per second, that's all your brain can really process, and that's not actually true. That's like the minimum you need for things to look smooth. Now, we are not in setup, whether it's with a church or with a Q&A, because eventually I would like to do some, more of these sort of video live streams. And we're not in the situation where we're going to do 60 frames per second at high definition resolutions, but it's still a good thing to see. And partly for that in this case is because you're essentially having to double your bandwidth requirements versus 30 frames per second. You're having to upload twice as much. And if you're familiar with most internet connections, usually your upload speed is considerably worse than your download. That gets into peering, that gets into ISPs starting to talk nasty to each other, saying you need to upgrade your equipment. No, you need to upgrade your equipment. And it's just really kind of silly when you really look at it, because it's not that they can't afford to, they just don't want to be the one that pays for it. You know, oh gosh, we only made $3 billion in profit this year. How terrible. So, okay, and that'll be something I need to look for actually with these. My little mic and just, that doesn't sound good. So, you know, we're trying that out, seeing what we can do. The other thing too is, when I'm doing this is usually on my Microsoft Surface. Now it's a Surface Pro 4, which is a very nice tablet, but I got sort of the mid-range. So it's got an i5, which is a good processor, but it's only got 4 gigs of RAM. So I would have liked to have gotten more, but I really couldn't have really justified the cost of that. So now I'm going to switch over here, and this is actually, you get kind of that infinite mirror effect going on here. This is what my first display looks like, and you know, so we got this right here. This is my primary monitor, so this is where my webcam's at. Then if we were to go over to the second one, you know, I've got just a whole nother desktop here of things for me to mess around with. And this is actually, I find to be a very productive way of doing things. Certainly when I'm doing audio editing, I'm doing my audio editing right here, and you know, that looks like this. Basically, so, and right here we've got, you know, Mixcraft, a wonderful digital audio workstation. I use this for a fair number of things. Looking for a new video editor too. So, but yeah, so these are kind of the things I've been fussing around with, and it's nice that you can do it for so little. I mean, really, if you've already got a decent laptop of any variety, OBS is on Mac, it's on Windows, you can try it out. And, you know, an account with YouTube, that's free. An account with Facebook, that's free. If you have a business, though, you know, you can go ahead, start up a page, start up a channel, and this can actually give you a chance to actually explain and create your own marketing material. I won't lie, I won't say it's like, oh, this is easy, this is no problem. And it's not that I personally find it hard, it's just that when you really get down to it, you know, I've been spending the time and fiddling with it, and that's if you own a business or something like that. Certainly, you know, you've got your business to begin with, and you end your day, and you know, for an actual business owner, that could be that's obviously going to be a little bit later than the regular employee. Then you go home, you've got your family life, you got to rest. There's no telling what else is out there. So time is a valuable thing, and it's one of those things that if you got someone who can help you with this, set it up, that'd be great. But it's a good opportunity for you to actually make something to help educate your customers about your particular products. I mean, because some things that are obvious to you, and you hear XYZ, you know very quickly what it is, but you also know that your customers don't necessarily want to come down to wherever you're at or call in and get this long dissertational lecture and trying to catch them up. So if you give them this time to kind of explain things, especially if there's some jargon involved, then that's actually really helpful in that, you know, when you talk to them, they can actually feel a little more sure about what's going on. And the nice thing too with social media is you can add links to, oh, look at this, look at that, and it lets them learn at their own pace, and that's something that'll hopefully help you when they come in to purchase. They'll be a more educated customer. They're more likely to get what they want and be happier with it. You don't want to be the person who sold them something they obviously didn't need if you really took time to learn. But sometimes customers don't know what they need. And, they might, if they feel pressured at that time, they're either going to make a bad choice and they'll come back and I want to return this, or they'll just make a really big stink, or they won't buy at all. They won't invest in your service, they won't invest in your product. And I know at the print shop there is, with any conversation, we're usually having to incorporate that educational elements into it. So, and kind of as a result, you want to start building that relationship from there, regardless of what it is, so that by the time they actually get to meeting you or one of your staff, they already have that familiarity, and they're educated, and that just makes life easier for everyone. So this, I think, will about sum it up right now for now. Again, this is just one of my experiments and just things I'm trying. For instance, today we're doing a live stream and I actually incorporated another program so we could actually have a video playing right here, and then just right about here we had something else going as well. So that's coming from the main picture is coming from camera. Then we had a small video playing just in the corner. And of course, first time doing that, I was like, oh gosh, that's covering up the guy's head. And the guy running the camera actually had no idea I was doing that, so he wasn't able to be mindful of that because he didn't know what was going on. Another thing we did is, we got something going on the projection screen, and I didn't have a way to get what was going on there onto the computer doing the streaming. So I actually had to sit there, cue both of them, the video up on both, and the other one had to have the audio for the video muted. So the audio coming from the soundboard wouldn't compete and be out of sync with what was coming out, would have been coming out at the same time, because I don't, it's doing 2 mouse fingers, click, and, that's as close as I'm going to get. And, that could be a couple tenths of a second off, but you will hear that and that will sound awful. So I muted that first, and that way we could have everything kind of going in sync. And when I was watching that, it was like, yeah, that worked pretty well. I like that. I think one of the applications I'm looking forward to on the show is the idea that, maybe, again, this would be on the surface, which would change my options a little bit. But, we go looking stuff up or whatever, and people could watch us doing that. And this is how easy it is. And certainly that kind of tech phobia or really any phobia when you start dealing with something you're not familiar with, is something that I think exposure to, you're just like, this is it, not hard. And that helps. And certainly for the show, we want people to be comfortable with the technology they have. This is how easy it is. This is how quick it is. And we can do that. I certainly would like to start doing things where we can do small tutorials using the software and actually showing them on screen. Yeah, how do you do this? One of the things I would love to do for one of our customers actually is show them how to get correct PMS colors out of Microsoft Publisher, which is a feature that a fair number of people think was actually taken out. No, it's in there. It's hidden for some inexplicable reason. You can also set up themes using that. So if your company has brand standard colors or things like that, you can start incorporating that. It's not as good as what you would find in Adobe InDesign or in Quark, but it is a lot better than what you're dealing with if you're doing Word. And honestly, people shouldn't be using Word for desktop publishing in the first place. Not that it can't do it, it's so much more work to get a good product that you could do it in a real program in probably about half the time and come out with something, just as good looking. And And if you actually know what you're doing, you'll make something far better looking, something far easier to work on. Just because when you start doing the real powerful Microsoft Word stuff, you're getting the stuff that a lot of people don't know how to do. And it's just, I don't personally find that to be beneficial. And then you start, the more you know about it, the more you're going to run into its limits. Like, okay, we're dealing with Microsoft Word. Can you do CMYK colors? To the best of my knowledge, you cannot. You do Pantones. To the best of my knowledge, you cannot. Things like that. And certainly the way it makes PDFs just makes me cringe. It's not ideal for what we use it for, and thus, professional printing or things like that. We've gotten ads when I was working in newspapers and it's like, oh, I made this great ad and keep putting it in the paper. Sure. We take their money and we find out it's in PowerPoint. And that's just, sales rep doesn't know, but, production side of things, we're all kind of crying, if not dying on the inside. So anyhow, next step is uploading this. I'm actually not streaming this. I'm actually just recording this using OBS, and the reason for that is so I can actually go and take a look at it myself. Right now we got studio mode, so I can see both, but I'm recording, not streaming. And again, that's a very useful thing. Simply because, I could go back in and edit this and slice it up and do whatever. So, thanks for listening. Oh, Jonathan, hey, is this something you think might be useful now? So, have a good night, everyone, and thank you very much.